Hey everybody, this is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com. We're back with this week's new comic book reviews. And actually, I thought it was going to be a small week, but it was actually a pretty big week. Distillery has 3 books this week, a big release for them. And really not many, only really one DC book to review this week. They had a lot last week. Next week's going to be a big week for them. Challengers of the Unknown comes out in New Gods, so very excited about those. But there's quite a stack here, so let's get going. First up, we have the Billi 99 reprint hardcover, written by Sarah Brime and with artwork by Tim Sale. And he also co-plotted the story. This is a long out of print. It was originally published at Dark Horse in black and white, and this is the first time it's been newly collected and the first time it's ever been in color. They got Jose Villaruba to do the colors. He's currently helping remaster the Richard Corbin books that I've shown you in some of the reviews, and he's a really great colorist, and they couldn't have really picked a better person. Of course, sadly, Tim has passed away, but this is really nice. Clover Press put this out. I literally just got this yesterday. Clover Press did a Kickstarter for it. Now, you can go to Clover Press. They are taking pre-orders after they get all the Kickstarter books sent out. So if you want to pre-order it and get it, it really is a nice package. It's the basic premise here is its tagline really sums it up. It's 1999. Do you know where your civil rights are? And the irony is that this book was done really a long time, quite a while ago, and yet, it's even more relevant today than even at the time, which was very relevant. And yet it was set in the future, and now, the future is now, seems like dystopian. It's just really. Like I said, it was a really great story. Tim's art was really, really great. Now, obviously he was still kind of getting his style, but it was really nice to that Clover Press, put this together. And like I said, the coloring is just really wonderful. And he had always Tim had always wanted it in color, and so this is really nice that they were able to put this out. Sadly, he has passed away, but it's great for a new generation to discover this book because it's been long out of print. And that's, like I said, definitely you can go to cloverpress.com and pre-order the book. I really recommend it. I was a really big fan when it originally came out. I loved it then. And, I haven't reread it yet, but because I just got it, but very excited to get back into it and really, kind of revisit Tim's, wonderful artwork and the story that him and Sarah had put together. First up this week, we have the Ultimate Universe 1 year in, number 1, with the main story written by Denz Camp, with artwork by Jonas Scarf. And then there's a Ultimate Wolverine prologue written by Chris Condon, with artwork by Alessandro Cappuccio. So the first is, it shows it's kind of 1 year into the Ultimate Universe. And the world has been broken up into 8 territories that is run by different, the Hulk runs one, Colossus and Magic runs another. There's the Moon Knight, kind of gang that runs one. So what it is Nick Fury, he's the head of HAND, which is the Heroic Anomaly Neutralization Directorate. And so what they do is they go around and there's people that are going to do things in their life, become like serial killers or, create civil unrest, and they kill them before it happens. And, so what it is he brings the council together, and, he's going to kill the council because he's kind of really, he's a hero deep down. And he just really can't stand what they're doing with the world, kind of mind control. And the Ultimates are trying to, save the world basically from the corruption that has been built up. And I was surprised because I wasn't really a big fan of the Ultimates. Camp writes that. I might have to go revisit it, but this was a really interesting story, and it was kind of a one and done story, so that might be a difference there. Scarf's artwork is really nice. It's a good looking book. The Ultimate Wolverine prologue, it for me, it's a prologue, so I will wait for full judgment. But reading this prologue really kind of reminded me of the Black Panther, the Ultimate Black Panther, where it just seemed like a Wolverine story. It didn't seem, yes, he looks different, but it didn't seem different. And that's not necessarily a bad thing for especially for new readers. Hey, I want to start a Wolverine book. Here's a good start. But if you're kind of a regular reader, it's just like, oh, it's a Wolverine story, because his origin was very similar. Not exact, but it's like kind of like, here's his origin. We changed it slightly. So we'll see. The art by Cappuccino was nice and everything, but it felt kind of okay. But we'll see what the first issue brings. Next up, we have The City Beneath Her Feet, #1, written by James Tynion IV, with artwork by Elsa Chartier. So the premise here is that Jasper Jane, she's a contract killer. She's going to this party, and she's there to kill these people. And so it also, at the same time, we kind of see the setup of her and Zara, who's just, she's kind of an average person. She's a book writer, but she's trying to write this book, but, she's having writer's block, and, and the book's due and she can't write it. And so they, during, that Jasper, she after she kills her mark, she gets wounded, and, they end up kind of running into each other. So they basically, Jasper takes Zara to her home to get her patched up, and then they kind of have a one night stand. And then what it is she learns of Jasper's kind of adventures, and so she ends up writing the book about Jasper, and that's how she finishes the book. And then later on, she meets up with Jasper again, and they're obviously kind of in love. And then something happens to Jasper, and everything that Jasper owns is left to Zara, and there's a big twist to that, which I will not reveal here. But it was really interesting story. I mean, I'm a really big fan of Cartier's artwork. I really love it. She's the artist on Love Everlasting, and just that, her art just amazing. I really love her artist. And the story by Tynion is actually quite good. So this was really a great first issue. I really like this one a lot, and it is definitely worth picking up this week. I like this first issue, and I'm really intrigued to see where it goes from here. Next up, we have Batman Dark Patterns #1, written by Dan Waters, with artwork by Hayden Sherman. So this book kind of takes place in the early years of Batman, kind of, he's just becoming Batman. And what it is they first discover there's this third victim who has been basically tortured very slowly to death. And the killer pulls out the teeth and the tongue so nobody can hear them. And so what happens is, so Batman goes back and finds this connection with these three people that are dead to this lawyer who may have been not doing things on, he did things, say, for the mob, he'd get people off, he would cover things up for corporations. So everything leads back to this lawyer. So he goes to the office, and, while he's at the office, all of a sudden there's like a bunch of guards, trying to take him out and everything. And And then he discovered, he takes a file and he discovers that there's a connection with all the, with these three and others for this particular case. So they goes to this fourth person who's going to become a victim, and there's this new villain basically who has like pins strategically placed so Batman can't, like, if he punches him in the neck, he'll kill him. If he punches him, he'll puncture his heart. So it's really, really an interesting story, and I like the fact that it's, one that Waters blends being a detective with kind of the superheroes, and that's always for me a really good, makes for a good Batman story. And then you have Hayden Sherman's artwork, which is absolutely wonderful. They really do a wonderful job with all the artwork. It's just absolutely gorgeous. They are the same artist that's currently doing Absolute Wonder Woman. So if you've been reading that, you know how good their artwork is. And it really is, it's a really good book. I'm really excited. I'm pretty sure it's a miniseries because Hayden is doing the artwork on Absolute Wonder Woman. So I think this might have been done previously, but like I said, their artwork is just absolutely stunning, and matching it up with Waters' really solid story for this first issue, really well worth picking up. It's good, and it kind of has a noir feel to it too, which is always a plus. Excuse me, especially with Batman. So definitely well worth picking up this week. Next up, we have The Brood #1. Written by Heath Corson, with plot by Heath Corson, Patton Oswalt, and Jordan Bloom. And then the artwork is by I.N.J. Cutbird. So this is another miniseries from the world of Minor Threats. And so what the premise here is that Napoleon Archidemus, he's a big villain in this superhero universe, and he has three kids, Athena, Benjamin, and Spook Show. And so what he's basically doing is he's kind of creating his own gang to make the kids like his partners, kind of like a mob in a way, where he's creating this dynasty. Well, we discover that he's dying from this weird radiation poisoning, and his kids are kind of not necessarily, they're not bad villains. I mean, they're just like, they just kind of do whatever they want, and they don't know. It's like family, you don't want to really work for your dad kind of thing. And it really was very interesting. I mean, I really am digging what they're doing with these minor threats spin-offs from the main books. Now, Oswald and Bloom do the main, have done the main minor threats series, but then they're getting other people to do these, kind of side, these miniseries and one-shots and stuff. And it's really quite interesting, because it allows people to play in the universe, but to kind of create their own stuff within this universe. And they let the creators kind of do, somewhat whatever they want with either characters that have been established or characters that they create. And it's really quite interesting, and I really like this. Cutbird's artwork is really, really fantastic. Does a really wonderful job. And Corson's script is really tight. I really like this. And the good thing about these is you can read this by itself. You don't have to have read any Minor Threats. You should definitely go out and check, because there's definitely trades of the main series and some other stuff. But these do stand on their own, so you can definitely read them by themselves, which is always a big plus. So, well worth checking out this week. Next up, we have Through the Bough, a Yuletide offering. This is a one-shot, so there's multiple stories. We have The Man in the Red Coat, written by Patrick McHale and J.K., with artwork by Jim Campbell. The Yule Beast, written and drawn by Sweeney Boo. Crumbs, a Very Bad Elf, written by James Tinian IV, with artwork by Jensen Eckwall. Soul Saunter, written and drawn by Molly Mendoza. The Good King's Son, written and drawn by Ryan Andrews. We have Pulsar, written and drawn by Kay Wharton. And We'll Be Home, written and drawn by Grim Wilkins. So I have to cheat here because I have the book up on my iPad because there's so many stories. It's trying to keep up with them. So the first story is it's probably one of my favorites, and that's not knocking the other ones, but it's really charming because it's totally like written and drawn like a fairy tale. What it is, these two goblin kids and their witch mom, it's Christmas Eve, and it's the opposite. It's like they don't want Santa to come because Santa's evil. The mother refers to the kids as the Yule Beast, the fat ugly man. The fat red ugly man is what she refers to him as. And so the kids get sent to bed early, and they're used to like staying up at night, and they can't go to sleep. So they go outside and play because they're kids and they want to get out. And so they realize that, oh wait, mom said not to go outside. So they cover their tracks and then they go back inside. And I won't spoil it, but I really, really liked it. Campbell's artwork really just was perfect for this. I love the story, and it was, I really, really enjoyed this first story, and it got the book off to a really solid start. The Yule Beast by Sweeney Boo was really interesting, and what it is it's kind of like this giant cat monster that almost kills the prince. So the king sends out, soldiers to kill the beast. And then while the beast is running away in the forest, it got injured by some of the knights. And so a woman and her baby comes across, and she helps the giant monster cat by fixing his wound, and it's cold, and then the cat warms him up. And it's very interesting. I don't want to really give any more away, but it's really great, and the artwork is just wonderful. It's really Boo is a really great artist, and it's a gorgeous story. Then we have the Crumb's a Very Bad Elf, and basically it's the elf on the shelf who is evil, and you don't want him to come into your house because he steals your teeth. He loves stealing teeth. And so it's really, these are all kind of fairy tale tales, and that one's quite interesting. The artwork by Eckwall is really, really wonderful. Definitely a really interesting story. And James Tynion writes a really fun fable on that one. And then the Goat King, Soul Saunters is the story of that Leo is partying too much, and he's not turning off the sun for winter to happen. And so Sagittarius is sent to basically tell Soul, hey, you need to turn off the sun because it's winter time. And that's the basic of that story. Mendoza's artwork is really wonderful. It's a really gorgeous fairy tale looking story, and it is really, really just it's gorgeous, and a lot of fun. Good humor to it and everything. Then we have the Goat King's Son, where what it is the king goes out, and it's kind of like every year there's this thing where he goes out and kills the goat. Kind of a ritual, except for this year when he comes back, he's injured. He didn't kill the goat. So now the son has to, take over the mantle, and he's like really young, and they're like, the townspeople are like, they're going along with it, but they're not like, I think the kid's not going to make it. So that was an interesting story. And the artwork, by, Andrews was really, really nice on that one. And that was really a fun story. The next one we have up is Pulsac by Wharton, and it's this older lady's telling her like assistant who's doing the artwork, kind of this fable, and the assistant goes out and is just ends up disappearing, and they blame the old lady, and she's like, no, it's something else going on. This was, for me, probably the weakest story. I mean, I love the artwork. The artwork was really, really wonderful. I just felt that the story just didn't quite gel. It was interesting. It certainly wasn't terrible. I think it just didn't quite gel for me. It kind of one of those, sometimes that happens where it just doesn't kind of, hit you in the right way. The next one, Will Be Home, by Grim Wilkins, is really, it's kind of a silent story. I mean, there's no dialogue, but there's framing words, and it's just basically about this group of people that are trying to get home for the holidays. And it really, the artwork's wonderful. It's, like I said, it's a silent story with really no dialogue, but it really, really works well. And overall, once again, with these anthologies, it's all based on, each story being X amount of cost. And I think overall, like I said, Pulsar was just not my favorite. I don't think it was terrible, but the rest of them were all top notch and really, really worth picking up. Definitely worth buying. I really enjoyed this. And the artwork overall is just fantastic in all of them. That was really, and once again, all the stories were really good. So I think I really enjoyed it. And it also kind of gets you into the, holiday spirit, but also, they're fables, and you can't really go wrong with, telling a good fable. Next up, we have In Bloom, #1, written by Michael W. Conrad, with artwork by John J. Pearson. So what it is plants, like flowers, bacteria, and fungal have basically, it's not so much that they're trying to kill the human race, but they've kind of, they've come to an agreement where now people, that is part of them. Some people have flowers for their heads. So, some people, so blooming is very important. I will say some of the premise here has a little bit of Logan's Run, in the sense of, after a certain age, you are kind of somewhat, the best way to describe it is recycled. Now, we don't know what that means and what that involves, but that's part of the story. But what it is that Agent Spears, these people are getting murdered, and he's investigating these murders, and there's some secret that may involve the destruction of the human race. We don't know. It was really interesting. There was a lot to digest here that Conrad did with the script, but I really did like it, and it's kind of a murder mystery, which is always kind of a simple tool to use, but it's how you layer the other things with said murder mystery. And I think Conrad really did a good job here, and Pearson's artwork is really great, especially drawing people with different, I don't want to say deformities, but different changes because of the flowers and the blooming within them. So that was quite interesting visually. I think it's, if you see a copy at your local comic shop, definitely look at it. It really surprised me. I was really surprised by this book, and it's well worth checking out this week. Next up, we have FML #2, written by Kelly Sue DeConnick, with artwork by David Lopez. So what this is so Ricky, or Riley, I'm sorry, not Riley, and his friends went to this old house and had kind of a seance, and a bit of a spoiler if you didn't read the first issue, but you've had a month and you should have read it, that he turns into this monster. It's not necessarily a scary monster, but he's kind of like a big hairy thing, and he's wearing a t-shirt and pants, and so his mom's like, you need to go to school. You just got to go to school. So Patty, his mom, gets him just go to school. We're not dealing with this now. And so he goes to school. Everybody at school thinks he's kind of cool, so that works out. But then when, Patty's out walking the dogs, she's talking to her father on the phone. She's supposed to be writing this book, and it's not working out. And then all of a sudden, while she's walking, this plane door falls and almost kills her. So it's like, is that fate? Is something going on? We do know that Patty was a member of a punk band. And so later in the issue, what we find out is that one of the members of the band was kidnapped. Cat was kidnapped and killed, and they're ultimately, they kind of have leads on who did it, and they basically kind of, I guess you could say, are kind of using witchcraft or, seance to find out who, because they know the murder's still out there, and they just are trying to, they have these leads, and they're using these leads to try to find out. So there's a lot of plates going on here. Kelly Sue is really, I like the first issue. The second issue really sealed the deal, but it's almost like you're just peeling back layers. It's like you think, oh, I've discovered this, and then you're like, oh wait, there's more underneath it, which is a good thing. I really like Lopez's artwork is really wonderful. The way he draws the Monster Riley is just really just spot on. It's really wonderful. And I'm really digging this book. I really, like I said, I liked the first issue. There was a lot of questions there, but it did a good job of setting it up. But I think the second issue really just was a great follow-up to that first issue, which is always tough, following your first issue. And it really is well worth checking out. Definitely, this is a book to watch. I'm really excited about where this book is going to go. And like I said, the second issue really built wonderfully on the first issue. So well worth checking out. Next up, we have Shivers Suspense Stories #1. So this is another anthology. So we have the framing story of Checking It Twice, written by Hunter Goranson, with artwork by Valerina Burzo. The Last Ornament, written by Jason Aaron, with artwork by Kino. Ghost in the Machine, written by Ben H. Winters, with artwork by Peter Krause. Red as Any Blood, written by Jay Stevenson, with artwork by David Lapham. Curse of the Magi, written by George Northey, with artwork by Caitlin Yarsky. And then there's a reprint story from Vault of Horror #26, Two of a Kind, written and drawn by Johnny Craig. So now this is the first time an EC story has been reprinted in the Oni books. So that's quite interesting. We'll get to that in a moment. So basically, Checking It Twice is the framing. There's a framing at the beginning, and then there's a framing at the end of each of these short stories. And what it is, it's a mom that's reading a Christmas story to these kids. And so that sets up the first story. So the Last Ornament is this mother who's really old, and the kids are older, and they're just like, this is a lot, can she just die so we don't have to come here for Christmas? Basically, the kids are just ungrateful little brats. They're not little anymore. But so then we kind of go to the past, where she, as a little girl, she buys this one little Santa Claus ornament, and she loves Christmas, and she grows up with Christmas. She gets married, they have kids. Christmas is great, and then the husband leaves. The kids are crazy, they're awful, and that kind of leads to the present. And what it is, what makes the story really interesting beyond that, is that the Santa Claus ornament that she bought as a kid basically is watching this, and so that's kind of the horror part of it. And it does not go well for the kids. That's all I'll say. And then we have Ghost in the Machine, which is basically Scrooge. He invents a time travel machine, and he keeps traveling through time, and he keeps running into himself. So guess, this ultimately is not going to work out well. It's actually quite humorous. And I must say that on The Last Ornament, the story by Aaron is really good, and Kano's artwork is really perfect. Now back to the Ghost of Machine. Winter Stories it's really kind of funny. It has a really dark sense of humor, and then Krause just perfectly captures the look of this guy's face in different times. He's in college, he's older, he's got a mustache. It's a really interesting story. It has a great twist at the end. And then Red as Any Blood it's a simple story of a mother that she's stealing a silver bell from this department store, and she's chased down by this security guard who just will not let it go. And once again, I certainly don't want to give away the twist, but there's a reason it's a silver bell. That's all I'm going to say. But Steven's story is really great, and Lapham's artwork is really perfect. And then Curse of the Magi that story is these two, this couple who have, they fall in love and they're married, but they can't have kids. And so, they scrape and get by, and then they discover this store where, the lady who owns it, it's like, well, you can't afford it, but the woman has really nice hair. If you let me cut your hair, I'll give you, the thing for your husband's present. And the same thing with the husband, he gives the shop owner something. He has his pocket watch that was given to him by his grandfather. And what we find out is the lady who owns the store is a witch, and they are kind of cursed. So, but then, shall we say, fate takes fate takes a different approach to who is really getting it in the end. That's all I'll say. And that one was really interesting. I'm a big fan of Yarsky's artwork, and she really just was wonderful in that. And then the Johnny Craig, the Two of a Kind, is so basically what is two star-crossed lovers are stuck in a cabin during a snowstorm in the mountains, and their darkest secrets catches up with them. It's a really classic EC story, and what's really nice about it is that it has been recolored but to match its original look. So it's not recolored to look like modern comics, but it's also not recolored. It's kind of recolored to capture, being printed on newsprint, but kind of a better quality of color. So it's when you see it, you'll like, oh, this is actually, it's really nice recoloring job. I really, really like that. So that one was interesting. And another one, overall, another good anthology. I think it's worth picking up this week. Next up, we have Warm Fusion #1, written by Scott Hoffman with artwork by Alberto Poncinelli. So what this is, it's New York City, 2 decades in the future, and there's these prostitutes that work at this particular brothel, and they're being murdered. Now, this particular brothel caters to people's fantasies, and a lot of the prostitutes that work there have, they're amputees. So there's kind of like, it's a fetish thing. And so these prostitutes are being murdered, and we don't know why. But then the other part of the story is there's this corporation is developing this limb regrowth medicine, and the detective who's discovering the murders, who's trying to figure out what's going on. Basically those two paths cross. That's what I'll say. It was an interesting story. I don't know that I was totally sold on it. It seemed like, once again, there was a lot of exposition, so that's always tough, but it seemed like the hook wasn't there for me. I think it just seemed a little on the basic side. I mean, it's like there's this murder mystery, there's this corporation who's doing bad things, but they're trying, to please the shareholders. But, it just seemed like I'd kind of read it before. I don't think it was terrible. It's just like I didn't feel that it brought anything new to the table. And that's kind of where I struggle with it. I will say that Poncinelli's artwork is nice. It's a good looking book. I felt that I've read this before, and it didn't bring much new to the party. So that's kind of where I struggle with this book. I don't think it's terrible. You might want to still check it out, but I wasn't sold on it. Next up, we have the Infinity Watch #1, written by Derek Landy with artwork by Raleigh Coleman. So what this is these 7 people have the powers of the Infinity Stone. Each one has a different power. There's death, all that. And so they're kind of like this superhero team, but they're not a very good team. And then there's supervillains that have power stones too. And, they and what it is the villains are basically going to absorb their stones so they can get their power. And then while they're battling this other Power Stone person, Avery Zavala, I guess. He's from another universe, and he's a stone bearer from another universe who is able to fend the villains off, and he wants their stones. Look, it was pretty basic story here. There wasn't really much to go on. Plus, the other problem I had is okay, here's 7 characters. I don't know who they are. I have no background of who they are. And I just okay, that's nice. I don't care. I will say Coleman's artwork, the artwork is really, really nice. I just felt the story is, your pretty basic superhero. Here's a group. They don't work well together. Here's the bad guy who's trying to get him. Then there's this other guy who kind of wants to help him, but he really wants their stones. I mean, tell me you haven't heard that before, and that's the problem with it. It's like I said, it's a nice looking book, but I've read this story a million times before, so I'd say skip it. Next up, we have Ultimate X-Men number 10, written and drawn by Peach Momoko. And then there's the script adapter of Zach Davison. Now, I do want to apologize to Zach because I saw a post of his on Blue Sky, and basically what it is Peach comes up with the story and everything, and he basically kind of adapts it to English, basically. So he has been doing that every issue. I think he's doing a great job because I love this book. So apologies to Zach Davison for not acknowledging his work on the book. So this issue, the public has discovered the children of the Atom cult. So the cult, because they were discovered, the raid on the cult, the mutants are unleashed, and now the public is afraid of the mutants, and the basically the X-Men kids are now kind of trying to their parents are trying to protect them, but it's chaos ensues. I'm really distilling the plot here because this has been a long form story, and that's what I really love about what Momoko and Davidson are doing here. Is it's not like you can't just jump in. I'm really, of course, for me, the main draw was obviously Peach Momoko's art. She's wonderful, but the story has been really fabulous, and I really like the slow burn approach that it's taking. Plus, it's the way it's telling a superhero story is so uniquely different that's the other thing that I really love about it. Is it's just so it feels so fresh and different that it's just amazing. And there is a trade of the first, I believe, 6 issues. Definitely pick that up and see what I've been talking about for 10 issues, because this book is damn good and you need to be buying it. Next up, we have Transformers number 15, written by Daniel Warren Johnson, with artwork by George Corona. So George is back, and so Soundwave makes his move to finish the Autobots after the catastrophe of trying to bring Cybertron to Earth, and that didn't work out well. And then Optimus Prime is having these kind of visions because of Sparky's sacrifice to give him Energon, because basically Energon is energy. So Sparky gave his life to save Optimus and the Autobots. And so that's kind of what's going on. This is the beginning of a new story arc, so I don't want to really give too much plot away. That's the basic thing. I wouldn't say I love this first part of the story arc, but it is a setup issue. So, it wasn't as overwhelming as some of the previous issues have been, but they're setting up a lot here. So the way that Daniel Warren Johnson has been writing this, I have complete faith. It's not like this issue is bad. It's just that we're setting up a new story arc, and sometimes, you get a lot of exposition, and we're kind of getting it here. I'm glad that George Corona's back. The artwork is really wonderful. I mean, we'd all love Daniel to come back to the book, but he's also doing another book, so that's why. But this book is still well worth picking up, and it'll be interesting to see where this art goes, because there's definitely, like I said, there's secrets, and I don't want to reveal too much, but it's definitely going to be an interesting story arc from here with what has happened before. So still well worth buying. And finally, this week we have X Factor number 5, written by Mark Russell, with artwork by Bob Quinn. So what it is X Term, kind of, I guess you could say, almost like Russian X-Men, basically have threatened to come to the United States. And, so, of course, there's the anti-mutant sentiment that's going on. And so what it is they're actually going, there's a mole within the X Factor team, and they go and breach their headquarters, and they kidnap them, and it doesn't look good for the X Factor team. That's all I got to say. I don't want to say anymore, because there's some great twists and turns in this issue. I'm really liking what Russell's doing here, because what the thing I like is that he's kind of taking the X-Men characters that nobody else wants, and he kind of is doing whatever the hell he wants with them, and that's what's interesting about the story. Plus, Russell's really spot on with social commentaries, so he's the perfect guy for this. And there's a lot going on here, beyond just, oh, hey, the mutants are bad, the anti-mutant sentiment. That's a part of the story, but he's really taking it to, kind of a different place, instead of just like that being, that's not really the crux of the story. Plus the fact that they're kind of like this celebrity mutant team, which is really just kind of genius in a lot of ways. I really like Quinn's artwork. He's really doing he continues to do a wonderful job. This is like one of my favorite X books. I know it's not for everyone, but if you're looking for something different, this is definitely, I think, the one that is definitely kind of beating to its own drum, and not just being like a standard, superhero X-Men book. So that's why I like it, and that's why I think it's worth checking out and buying every month. So that's going to do it. I know it's been I thought it was going to be a small week, but boy, a lot of books showed up. As always, public service announcement. I get all my comics at Pulp Fiction Comics, Long Beach, California. Ryan Skinner, the owner, runs a great store. Annie and Wendy are there most of the time. And Derek runs their socials. Definitely, if you're in the Long Beach area, definitely stop by, say hi, tell him I sent you. It's a really great comic store. He offers discounts on trades and graphic novels every day. They have a great pull service where you can get discounts on your books. But as always, I really emphasize, please support your local comic shop, and please make sure if you pre-order your books, pick them up on a timely basis. If you're having financial problems, let them know. They will work with you. I've had things in the past where I've lost a job, and I go to Ryan and say, look, I can't buy books right now, and we work it out. Just make sure you pick up your stuff that you order, and support your local comic shop. And as always, we end our show with be kind to each other, be kind to yourself, take care of yourself. Things are tough. I know the world seems crazy, but taking care of yourself is very important, and being kind to others is even more important. It's just the little things, opening the door, acknowledging, you're walking down the street, you see somebody, just nod your head, smile. They may be looking at their phone and stuff, but just acknowledge existence. It's really, we're all in this together no matter what. I mean, we have our differences, but being kind is not a difference. We can all be kind to each other, and we should be kind to each other. So take care of yourselves. That's going to do it this week. I know it's been long. I don't know how the schedule is going to work for the Christmas holiday. We'll just have to see how the shipping is, but usually it's pretty light the last couple weeks because of the holiday. So we'll kind of see where the reviews land. I will be out of town for Christmas, so pretty much that week there will be no reviews. We'll kind of see where it lands. We might double up with the books that come out. So we'll just see. We'll see where it goes, but I'll try to let you know with next week's video. I'll probably have an idea. I'll talk to Ryan and see what the shipping schedule is going to be. So that's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much. And please share our videos. Comments are welcome. Thanks for everything. Take care of yourselves. This is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com signing off. Have a good week. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.